Dear students, today, once again, I would be discussing orientation behavior under part 3. I have initially discussed the taxes and kinesis, and in continuation to the same is the today's discussion. Depending on the type of sensory organs present, a taxis can be classified as a clinotaxis, where an organism continuously samples the environment to determine the direction of a stimulus. A tropotaxis, where bilateral sense organs are used to determine the stimulus direction, and a telotaxis, where a single organ suffices to establish the orientation of a stimulus. This I have also earlier discussed, the clinotaxis, but here in addition to the clinotaxis, there are two more terms related to it, that is tropotaxis and telotaxis. So if there is a bilateral sense organs, then it is tropotaxis, and if it is single, then it is a telotaxis. Aerotaxis is the response of an organism to variation in oxygen concentration and is mainly found in aerobic bacteria. Anemotaxis is the response of an organism to wind. Many insects show a positive anemotactic response, turning or flying in towards the wind upon exposure to an airborne stimulus from a food source. Crosswind anemotactic surge is exhibited by some olfactory animals in the absence of a target order, including moths, albatrosses, and polar bears. Durotaxis is the directional movement of a cell along a stiffness gradient. Chemotaxis is a response elicited by chemicals, that is, a response to a chemical concentration gradient. For example, chemotaxis in response to a sugar gradient has been observed in motile bacteria such as Escherichia coli. Unicellular, for example, in the protozoa, or multicellular in various worms, organisms are targets of chemotactic substances. A concentration gradient of chemicals developed in a fluid phase guides the vectorial movement of responder cells or organisms. Inducers of locomotion towards increasing steps of concentrations are considered as chemoattractants, while chemorepellents result moving of the chemical. Now, when we talk about the taxes or kinesis, it is important to just to understand these things with the help of examples. So what is the importance, what is the significance of all this behavior, how is it being uh, seen or observed in nature? So these are the examples that tell you all that yes, this behavior is observed in these particular animals. Now this is a chemotaxis, like for example, we would observe in various organisms in nature, because maybe for food as a stimulus, maybe for water as stimulus, maybe for specific chemical as a stimulus. If it is an anaerobic bacteria, it doesn't want oxygen, so it would move away from the area where there is ample oxygen. Or if an organism prefers a sugary substance, so because that is what is required for its food, it would try to move towards that chemical substance, so that is a chemotaxis. So these all taxes and kinesis therefore are very important, and this is a part of their natural living. If one in nature, how one would survive. Electrotaxis. This is the directional movement of motile cells along a vector of an electric field. It has been suggested that by detecting and orienting themselves towards the electric fields, cells can move towards damages or wounds to repair them. Now, when you talk about electrotaxis, it's not important. It is not that you see them in organisms. I think there would be hardly any organisms which would move towards the electric current. But yes, it has been observed in living cells. So the movement of the living cell is also a specific behavioral aspect, which we need to understand that if there is a wound, there is a damage in the body, how do these cells move? This is probably because of this nature of theirs, that is, they move towards the electric current. This notion is based on the existence of measurable Electric fields that naturally occur during wound healing, development and regeneration, and cells in cultures respond to applied electric fields by directional cells migration, that is electrotaxis or galvanotaxis. Energy taxis is the orientation of bacteria towards conditions of optimal metabolic activity by sensing the internal energetic conditions of cell. Therefore, in contrast to chemotaxis, taxis towards or away from a specific extracellular compound, energy taxis responds on an intracellular stimuli and requires metabolic activity. Ferrotaxis is the movement to a specific location in response to learned or conditioned stimuli or navigation by means of landmark. Phonotaxis is the movement of an organism in response to sound. Gravitaxis is the directional movement, also known as geotaxis, along the vector of gravity to the center of gravity. The planktonic larvae of a king crab, Lithodus species, combine positive phototaxis, that is movement towards the light, and negative gravitaxis, that is upward movement. So both the things simultaneously, photo moving towards light, gravi as related to gravitational, but towards light with therefore positive, against gravity therefore negative. Also the larvae of a polychaete platineries, they combine positive phototaxis, of course movement towards the light, and UV induced positive gravitaxis, downward movement to form a radiochromatic, that is depth gauge. Both positive and negative gravitaxis are found in a variety of protozoans like the Loxodus, Ramonella, Paramecium, so on and so on. Magnetotaxis is strictly speaking the ability to sense a magnetic field and coordinate movement in response. However, the term is commonly applied to bacteria that contain magnets and are physically rotated by the force of the Earth's magnetic field. In this case, the behavior has nothing to do with the sensation, and the bacteria are more accurately described as magnetic bacteria. Phototaxis. This is the movement of an organism in response to light, that is, the response to variation in light intensity and direction. Negative phototaxis or movement away from a light source is demonstrated in some insects, as already exemplified as cockroaches. Positive phototaxis or movement towards a light source is advantageous for phototrophic organisms as they can orient themselves most efficiently to receive light from photosynthesis. Many phytoflagellates, for example Euglena, and the chloroplasts of higher plants positively phototactic, moving towards a light source. Two types of positive phototaxis are observed in prokaryotes. Scotophobotaxis is observable as the movement of a bacterium out of the area illuminated by a microscope when entering darkness signals the cells to reverse direction and re-enter the light. And the second type of positive phototaxis is true phototaxis, which is a directed movement up a gradient to an increasing amount of light. So when the movement is specifically towards or away from light, then it is phototaxis. Rheotaxis is a response to a current in a fluid. Positive rheotaxis is shown by fish turning to face against the current. In a flowing stream, this behavior leads them to hold their position in a stream rather than being swept downstream. Some fish will exhibit negative rheotaxis, where they will avoid currents. So these are the examples. Rheotaxis. You would think how this is going to be very effective. Yes, the fishes need this. They would be responding on the basis of the current. Thermotaxis. This is a migration along a gradient of temperature. Some slime molds and small nematodes can migrate along amazingly small temperature gradients of less than zero point 0.1 degree per centimeter. They apparently use this behavior to move to an optimal level in soil. So, you see, this is the behavior which we can see in nematodes. Thigmotaxis is the response of an organism to physical contact or to the proximity of a physical discontinuity in the environment. For example, rats preferring to swim near the edge of a water maze. Codling moth larvae are believed to use thigmotactic sense to locate fruits to feed on. So these are the different kinds of kinesis which uh, the behavior related to orientation. Thank you.